Game resumed.
Hello and welcome everyone. This is game 2 of a best of 3, a YouTube exclusive from ESET UK Masters. I'm Maddles and we are looking at the semi-final of the second open qualifier, which is between two powerhouse Koreans. Currently the score is 1-0 to Sting, and if he wins this match he will secure himself a spot at the grand finals at Insomnia 48, and therefore will have a chance to win some of that £10,000 prize pool. So we will start with him up in the top left, spawning as the pink Terran rather. On Aquilon Wastes we have Sting. And down in the bottom right position, his opponent desperate to win this game, forcing it to an ace game 3. We do have for Team Axion the red Terran, Heart. Now, let's just talk a little bit about what we saw in Game 1. We saw two very different strategies. Both started off with a Rax first into a gas and then a command center. But what they did with that was a little bit different. Sting, he went for a straight up mech play, a lot of Hellions out, and actually managed to stop a very early on push from Heart by just cutting off the Marines early on, killing them all, forcing the Hellions back. Then Heart thought, okay, step 2, I'll go for 2 Hellion, 2 Widow Mine drop. But that wasn't going to catch Sting off guard. He straight away picked up on that coming in, defended it perfectly, took no losses at all. And then, after a little bit of macro, the third base is being taken. It was a mech army v a Marine Marauder with a couple of tank army from Heart. But Sting, he pushed forward at precisely the right moment after pushing off one of Heart's attacks with a 3-tank Marine push, and then that counter aggression was just perfect. The Banshee, the Raven, gave Sting the edge in order to just completely annihilate Heart's force, and while Heart did everything he could with a drop play from the Medivacs over the tank line, it just wasn't enough in the end. So, back to this game, and the potential decider of this series. We do have both players with their gas down, both with 3 SCVs in each. A Reaper in production for both of them, although Sting's Reaper is significantly earlier. But Aquilon Wastes such a large map, I don't think that there's any concern that Heart won't get his out in time. Both just want to get that scouting information. Sting, though, he gets the SCV coming up. It doesn't manage to get picked off by the Marine quite yet, so that means that the gas is spotted. The barracks is spotted. You can assume that it's going to be a Reaper there. Sting, though, he's got 100 gas up now after that first Reaper, so could start very soon indeed. His factory could get up and running. Currently just doing his best to pick up that scouting SCV, and does succeed in doing so. Now, Sting getting up his factory, that's to be expected. Heart, on the other hand, he started a tech lab on his barracks and is getting down a command center. So that means Heart will have a better economy as long as he can survive this aggression that we saw Sting throw at him in Game 1. So Hellions very, very likely. We've seen that Sting likes that sort of play, but he's not going all in. He's just following up with that command center on the low ground. We also have a second barracks now coming out for Heart, so no factory early on at all. Instead, just going for a lot more infantry. A third barracks even getting added on here. Compare this to that factory for Sting, and you'll see that there's a lot more production capabilities for our red Terran compared to the pink one. And now with Stimpack coming down, a Marine Marauder push could be very deadly indeed. But it all comes down to whether or not Sting is able to deal with it well, getting out those Hellions or potentially Widow Mines from the reactor factory. Meanwhile, we've got a bit of Reaper on Reaper action in the center of the map. We've got both players coming off fine. Combat drugs will heal up the Reapers, but Sting choosing to pull back, whereas Heart just going to go and take that watchtower, make sure he's got the vision, make sure that he knows precisely what his opponent is doing. The Reaper coming up with the extra couple of shots going off for Heart there will force Sting back at the moment, and it may not seem like much, but this control of a watchtower absolutely essential for Heart because he'll see any move outs of units. Meanwhile, very similar build to Game 1 from Sting. He got the barracks out, the factory with the reactor, building the Hellions, and now getting a starport off the back and a tech lab on the barracks. So almost an identical build, which makes sense because if it isn't broken, don't fix it. But we see now that Heart is able to come in and get a complete scout off, sees the second gas, sees the starport, sees the tech lab, and now should be completely aware of what his opponent's doing. I believe he has, nope, he doesn't see though that the natural command center is down, and that could be a bit of scouting information that is required. But as we can see, the orbital command for Hard now going down on the low ground of Bunker coming up. The first Marines and Marauders already out stim, 2/3 done, as well as +1 infantry weapons now starting. So as we can see, just in game 1, Hard yet again going for that Marine Marauder force. The Marauders pushing back that Reaper and those Hellions, but Sting, he's getting down his Banshee. He is also producing a lot more Hellions adding into this. The Reaper healing up with those combat drugs, but with the Bunker there, it's going to be tough to try and deal with this. But of course, in they come, the Hellions streaming straight past the Bunker, saying, do you know what, if you've got static defense, I'm going to ignore it. And a lot of SCVs getting taken down here. Sting is doing a tremendous amount of damage, coming straight up into the main base. The Marauders doing good damage, but the Marines getting fried very quickly. 4 Hellions and the Reaper make it on up into the main base. And are there going to be even more SCVs roasting today? I believe there will be. At least a couple more will die. The Reapers do. The Hellions finally now gets cleaned up by the Marines and the Marauders. But a grand total of 8 workers have been killed there, taking the SCV count to 33 for Sting to just 26 of Heart. Now, we do see that potentially more Banshee are going to be coming out, or indeed a Reaper, just as we saw in game 1, that Raven rather being used yet again. And well, a bit of Raven play is never a bad thing. The detection should Hard get out any Widow Mines, and with that detection he can just be more confident. He's got the PDD as well, just to negate some of the damage of the Marauders. The Banshee trying to come in the back, but the Marine's going to go and cut that off fairly quickly, so he's not going to be able to do any more damage there. Gets a couple of volleys down on the Marauders, a nice little bit of micro, damaging that supply depot, trying to bait Hard a bit too far forward with a Marauder or a Marine to take it out. Of course, a slight outrange means the Banshees, if micro perfectly, can deal with this, but the supply depot for the moment taking most of the damage. The Marines got to be very, very careful, and it looks like Sting will succeed in taking up the supply depot, supply blocking Hard temporarily. And that's the sort of little thing that can be very frustrating indeed. A scan going off now for Hard, sees that it's a mech style play yet again from the Pink Terran player. More factories are in production. Both tech labs are down, but not researching anything, instead just getting out a lot more tanks. So these tanks, these Hellions, the Raven composition that we saw work so well for Sting in game 1 is being utilized yet again. No third command center yet though for either player. The Banshee yet again trying to deal a bit more damage, picking off the Marines right at the very bottom right of the map, trying to stay out of range from as many as possible. Can just start chipping away. And the Marines trying to get forward, but the Banshee just outranges them, which is incredibly frustrating for Hart. There's nothing he can really do about this, and as such, this Banshee just has free pickings. As long as it stays back, it's got to bait the Marines back and pull out, but it's now on very, very low health, so it has to be insanely careful, because just a couple more shots off from those Marines will kill it. But of course, as we can see, Marines starting to go down that supply depot, getting repaired up, because otherwise Hart would get supply block yet again. But finally, that Banshee does die, so very, very cool-headedness out of Hart there, not panicking, just dealing with it appropriately. But it's what's behind that could be concerning, because there's a good number of tanks, a good number of Banshee, a good number of Hellions, a Banshee, and that Raven. So between all of that, to be honest, I think Sting should be pretty comfortable defending any of this Marine Marauder aggression, especially when we think that Hart's only 2 medevacs are just making their way across the map, so no push going to be coming up for the meantime. Just a quick check that the 3rd base hasn't been taken there, but as the tank count increases, when that armory completes as well, upgrades will start coming out and things could start getting difficult. Luckily for Hart though, he does have +1 infantry weapons already complete. He has stim and combat shield, whereas there is nothing upgraded at the moment for Sting. He is just relying on brute force numbers at the moment and that mech composition. The watchtower trying to get retaken. Those 3 Hellions do have to be a bit careful though, because up comes the infantry. They can deal some nice damage. No concussive shell on the Marauders though, which means that the Hellions are able to retreat very easily for the time being. Sting also has a good number of Vikings, so this double drop from Hart is going to get completely denied, and the medevacs need to be very careful. Perhaps it may even boost away, and indeed that is what we're going to see, because without that boost away, the Vikings could have sniped one off, and that would have been a huge loss to Hart, who is yet again supply blocked, unfortunately, but so is Sting. So these supply blocks really hurting these 2 players. The 3rd command center is on its way. The Hellions noticing a small group of Marines and Marauders, but don't feel like taking the fight, so pull back, waiting for their bigger brothers, the tanks and Hellbats, to come in order to just really deal with this. So a nice competition out of Hart at the moment. He's got a good supply lead. The watchtower has now been taken, and a double drop coming down in the main base of Sting by Hard. He's also gearing up another double drop to go into the natural base. So this is potentially going to do a nice amount of damage. But dropping the main, getting cleaned up quite comfortably. No defense down low at the natural base. And therefore all the SCVs getting pulled very quickly. Sting moving forward though. He's outside his opponent's natural. He's got to push up. He won't get back in time with that very immobile mech force. All 4 medevacs now sitting at the ramp to the main. But really just damage being done by these tanks as they are now out, and it has been cleaned up for the time being. That siege tank did a great amount of damage. Now though, Sting, he's pushing up into the main. His supply, half of that of Sting, and there is the GG. Sting, he was victorious. He held off that quadra drop very well. He pushed in his mech army composition absolutely great, and means that he is 2-0'd Axiom's Heart, but more importantly, he has secured himself a seed at Insomnia 48, the ESET UK Masters Grand Finals, and therefore, and most importantly, will have a chance to compete for some of that £10,000 prize pool. I was Maddles. I hope you enjoyed this semi-final. It was absolutely top-notch TVT. Make sure that you give the video a thumbs up. Let us know in the comment section how well you think Sting is going to do at the Grand Finals. And of course, subscribe for all the latest VOD action from ESET. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again very soon. Bye for now.